Well, these are never the press conferences you want to have as a coach. Obviously, not the way we wanted our season to end. I don't think anybody thought that we'd be in this situation, quite honestly. I told our team today, how much I love them and respect what they do on a daily basis, putting themselves out there on the line each and every day, uh, creating a great culture within our building. These guys were team centric and just really appreciate coming to work each and every day when you're working with a group of individuals like that. Certainly, like I said, I'm really disappointed. I'm disappointed for our players, just everything they put into this. I'm disappointed for our fans who absolutely showed out for us, and brought so much energy and passion. And I thought they were going to be the difference in the game, quite honestly. And can't tell the fans just how much we appreciate that support. And I'm disappointed for them, because I know this means a lot to our fans, who I think are the best in the world. And so, obviously, disappointed in myself that I couldn't do more to get our guys, over the hump, because this one's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, and I think the way we move forward is we all have to look internally at what we can each as individuals do better. Um, with every loss, you've got to learn from it, and you got to move forward, and that's the mentality, that's the mindset, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take and look really hard at ourselves, and you know move on the best we can, and understanding that each year is going to present new challenges. That's the National Football League. I think this weekend was a great indication of the competitive balance in this league. When you look at all four playoff games, really went down in the final play, and we've got to keep searching for whatever it is to help us get over the hump, because obviously we haven't found it yet. And my commitment to this organization, to our players, our coaches, our fans, everybody, is that we are going to be relentless in that pursuit to get us over the hump.
All right, Coach, thank you. We'll start with Matt Schneidman.
Matt, are you considering a change at special teams coordinator?
Listen, Matt, so today, just to give you guys an idea of what transpired, I met with our team met with our coaching staff early this morning, at 8 o'clock, and then at 9 o'clock we had a team meeting, and then I've been meeting with players since that meeting finished up until about 30 minutes ago. So we have not gotten involved with any part of that process with any of our coaches. Just trying to, we got to look at everything, man. We got to look at everything, and if we feel like we can improve in certain areas, then we'll make tough decisions. But we're not even remotely close to getting into that at this point in time.
Ryan Wood.
Matt, we've seen Aaron do so many remarkable things. Presumptive MVP. Why he took a good bit of blame for himself in his play after the game? Why was the guy we saw Saturday night so different than what we'd seen all year?
Well, I think from what I saw, I mean, he was under an intense amount of pressure, and that's hard to play that position when you've got pressure in your lap the whole game. So, I thought there was a lot of things he did great. I really did. And unfortunately, we all hold him to such a high standard, just like he holds himself to that high standard. But ultimately, like we've said many times, the quarterback many times will get too much blame when it doesn't go right, and a lot of times too much credit. But ultimately, this is a team game, and I think that the game we played the other night is the epitome of it takes all three phases. I thought we did a lot of great things on defense. Obviously, having the big blunders on special team, and then on offense, we definitely did not play up to our standard. But it wasn't one person; it was a collective effort by everybody.
Steve McGargy.
Have you gotten any feedback from Aaron Rodgers regarding like how soon he might make a decision on his future, and just how confident are you that he will be the quarterback next year?
Yeah, I sat down and talked to Aaron today for quite some time. I think we're all a little numb to the situation right now. And so I would say that what we talked about, I'm definitely going to keep between himself or him and myself. But, we're hopeful that he'll be back next year, obviously. I mean, this guy has done so much for such a long period of time for this organization, for this city, for this team. And so, I want to be respectful of his process, whatever he needs to go through to make the best decision for himself. And certainly we would love for him to be a Packer and be a Packer until the day he decides to retire.
Mike Spofford.
Yeah, Matt, just to follow up on that, obviously you want Aaron back. Do you feel you will have any influence at all over how this plays out, or to you, is this something that just feels beyond your control?
Well, if there's anything I can do, I'll make sure that I do that. But ultimately, like I said, he's got to go through his process and come to what he feels is the best decision for himself.
Mark Daniels.
Hey, Matt, kind of along those same lines, I think it's 23 free agents, unrestricted, restricted, or exclusive rights. Have you even allowed yourself to consider what this offseason is going to be like, and how involved will you be with Brian and Russ on trying to sort out all of that?
Yeah, I'm confident that we'll all work together to try to get as many guys back as humanly possible. I mean, I've had a lot of success with these guys, and they've brought a lot to this team. But I also realize that there's going to be some tough decisions, just like there is every year. And you got to find a way to make some of those tough decisions and try to supplement it in other fashions via the draft or, other players that might be out there.
Bill Huber.
Hi, Matt. First, thanks for doing this 5 days a week for the last 6 months. We appreciate it. I know you just kind of got into this a minute ago with your intro, and I also understand that of every playoffs, 13 coaches are going to lose their last game. But if you put your finger on anything that you can do personally to get you guys over the hump?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've obviously got to be more detailed within every phase of football for us to get to where we want to go. It's just, I don't think it's one singular thing, but I think there's always things that you can do better as the coach, as the leader, whether it's instilling a better mentality with our guys and try to really hit home at that. But I don't have the answer right now, obviously. I've talked to our guys about when we get back, that we've got to lean on each other and try to, as a group, collectively come up with ways to help us get over the hump, because whatever we've done for the last 3 years hasn't gotten us there.
Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt. Special teams has been an issue for the organization for probably 15 years or whatever. What does Green Bay have to do to get to the position where special teams are regularly good? Is it a philosophical thing? Is it a coaching thing? What is it?
Well, I think it could be all of the above, in terms of just maybe having a couple guys that potentially are that's their value is what they bring to teams. But I also think we can do a much better job, starting with myself, emphasizing the special teams, allowing some of maybe our starters to play on more phases of that. And granted, that's got its own set of risks that kind of transpired the other night when we lost AJ. So, I mean, I don't think it's ever just one thing, but certainly that'll be a big time priority, I think, for us moving forward is to not allow something like this to happen again, because it's really disappointing when our defense goes out there and really dominates for 4 quarters. In our offense, I know, like I said earlier, it certainly wasn't up to our standard, but I mean, there was 4 minutes and some change left in that game, and we had the lead. So, you know, we gotta look at everything, and that starts with myself just making sure that it is a main priority for us.
Rob Domofsky.
Hey, Matt, you obviously said you guys want Aaron, or you want Aaron back, and you want him to retire here. Is that the final organizational decision on that? Or is there still, some debate about, that you guys have to have to make sure you guys want to move forward with him for another year?
No, every conversation I've been involved in with, with Goody and Russ and Mark, we're all on the same page there. So there's no debate.
MK Burgess.
Matt, I know Aaron Rodgers and his future is a topic of much debate, but Davante Adams, have you talked to him? Have you had any talk about what his future is gonna be like? Because he's also a very big piece of your offense that is up for a question mark this year as well.
Yeah, I sat down with Tay for a while today as well, and we kind of talked everything through. And again, another guy that we're hopeful that we can come to an agreement with. And obviously he's done so much on the field, but I think it's still the stuff that you all don't get to see within the meeting room, with how he talks to his teammates, with how he sets a standard for everybody. There's a reason he was voted a captain, rightfully so. He earned that, and I told him that, he's definitely earned the respect of not only his teammates, but all of his coaches as well. And I think everybody in this organization, just his ability to compartmentalize just his own situation and go out there and compete at the level he did each and every week, putting himself out there, obviously with in a contract year and just bringing it and, playing at the highest of levels. He's the best receiver in the league.
Tim Van Boren.
Afternoon, Matt. Where's Jordan Love and his development, and what's your going into the offseason message to him?
The same it is for every other guy. It's you got to come back to be the best version of yourself. And I think, Jordan's come a long way. I still think with any young player that hasn't gotten maybe the experience up to this point, there's still a lot of room for growth. So I think it's going to be an important offseason that when he does come back, it's making sure that his footwork is sharp, that he is on the details of what we're trying to accomplish on each and every play, on all the concepts, really a mastery of the offense, and then just the command that he has. And, I know he takes that to heart, and he takes it very personally, and he'll do whatever he can to be his best.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, you mentioned AJ going down. How much did that take you out of what you wanted to do in the second half? We've seen a number of games this year where you guys have really kind of turned to AJ. Did his going down so early in the second half alter much of what you wanted to do on offense?
Yeah, I would say he definitely played a big part in some of the decisions we made. But that happens in the game of football, and you got to be able to adjust. And certainly, I didn't do a good enough job of adjusting enough to compensate for that loss.
Chris Roth.
Hey, Matt, hate to get into a lot of what ifs here, but since we don't know when we'll talk to you again, did last year's experience not knowing what was going to happen with Aaron, are you better prepared, do you think, or at least have plans in place on how to prepare this team if, in fact, he isn't back in 2022 because you almost had to deal with it last year and you prepared all off season basically without him?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different mindset. I think we're just the communication between us is pretty crystal clear. So I'm hopeful that it doesn't drag on quite as long, and we'll make the necessary decisions. And once we kind of find out where he's at.
I'm sorry if I could quick clarify, Matt. I guess I'm talking about in terms of having your practice plan and your off-season workout plans and everything with a different quarterback because you went through it last year. Does that potentially prepare you in case you have to do it this year?
Well, I don't think just our process totally changes. I think it's more the application of what are we going to try to look like when we take the field from an offensive identity standpoint, because I think it is unfair to kind of ask a younger quarterback to try to go out there and execute some of the things that Aaron's been so well accustomed to, and just making sure we're very, very specific with what we have from an installation standpoint. So I would say as far as our process, that we feel pretty good about that. Sure, is there things that we're going to tweak? Absolutely. I think we're constantly having that growth mindset and, hey, is this the best that we can do, or is there other ways to do things better? And we'll constantly look at that.
Thanks, Matt.
E. Doherty.
Hey, Matt. If Aaron decides for whatever reason he wants to play elsewhere, will you guys for sure accommodate him on that?
Well, I can't. I don't know. I haven't even been part of any of those discussions, nor have I, like I said last year, allowed my mind to kind of get to that point. So, I just want to do everything in our power to try to get him back here and making sure that he's comfortable with the direction of our football team, and confident that we can continue to have success here and again try to find a way to get us kind of over that hump so we can reach it further and further and further. Obviously at the end of this thing only one team's happy, and until we're holding that Lombardi trophy, I don't think we're ever going to feel great about where we're at.
Mike Clemens.
Thank you for your time this year, Matt. Much appreciated. 2 questions. Did Billy Turner get 2 weeks of reps in practice to get into the groove at left tackle? And that group of 6 or 7 players you had, so talented, but so many of them had not played in a month or longer. How tough were those decisions to decide whether they should go in Saturday night or you stick with the group that got you there?
Yeah, all of those we put a lot of thought into. Certainly, Billy, I think we were optimistic early on, especially after David played in the Detroit game, that there was a good chance that David was going to play in the game. But it just didn't work out that way. So he definitely didn't get 2 weeks of reps at that left tackle position. We felt comfortable with where he was at with the reps that he did get, in regards to just basically practices last week, all at left tackle. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
And then all the other decisions you had, these other offensive linemen,
Sure.
linebackers, Jair, you could see where he could come and play, a role in the game.
Yeah. Those were all very, very difficult decisions, because you think of all just, number one, you haven't seen these guys play in a while, so you're like, what is it going to look like? And then just how long would they be able to play? How many snaps? And just kind of the trickle-down effect that they have in regards to your entire roster. The ramifications, obviously, that led to some of the stuff that happened on special teams. So you look at everything, you think about everything. Ultimately, when you had the crew that we had coming back, we just thought that they gave us so much as positional players that it was worth the risk to take. And, I realized that whenever something doesn't work out, it's going to be heavily criticized, and rightfully so. I mean, we signed up for this. We know what we're getting into, and you better have thick enough skin to be able to stand there and live by your decisions and know that you ultimately try to do what's best, even though it didn't work out. And all you can do is try to grow and learn from it, and that's exactly what we'll do.
Andy Herman.
Hey, Matt, speaking of Bakhtiari, do you have any long-term concern on his health going into next season? Do you feel he's going to be ready to go come training camp next year in off-season activities? And on the same token, is there anything you guys feel like you can do organizationally different so that you don't have sort of a repeat with, an Elton Jenkins or Robert Tonyan if he's back, things like that, with them coming back from injury next year?
Yeah, I think you try to learn from every situation, and we'll sit down and make sure we have a real detailed conversation with David in regards to, how did we get to this point? But I don't think it was anybody's fault as to why this happened. I do know this: David worked his ass off on a daily basis to try to be available for us, and it just didn't work out. As far as long-term effects, I'm not overly concerned. Just the opinions that we've gotten from not only our docs but other docs as well is that structurally everything looks good, but until we get there and until we work through this, I don't think anybody truly knows. Everybody responds to these injuries a little bit differently, and unfortunately, in his case, it just is taking longer than it typically does. So, but I've got complete confidence that David he's so diligent, man. He does everything the right way, and it's just an unfortunate circumstance, I think, that we're being dealt with right now.
Ryan Wood.
Matt, I have a question about the future, but real quick, since we're talking about David, do you feel like it was a mistake for him to play those 27 snaps in Detroit?
Well, that's a tough one to answer, I would say, Ryan, in regards to, you could say yes because he didn't play in the playoffs. And maybe, I don't know if it truly impacted his ability to play in the playoffs or not. But I think it's definitely a fair question in terms of why did we make that decision. And it was just one that we all felt, including himself, that he would be able to go. And we thought that would kind of get everything behind us. But ultimately it didn't work out that way. So, I know I didn't really answer your question, but I don't really know if I have the answer to your question.
Well, let's see about this one. Some of the things that Aaron said after the game Saturday night were pretty ominous for the future. He said that there's definitely going to be changes and a different look for this team going forward. Obviously, you know what the cap situation is. He also said he doesn't want to play for a rebuild. Do you feel like where you guys are at, that you guys are heading into a rebuild?
Bill wants everybody to stop clicking their pen, whoever's doing that. I do not think no. There's no plan for a rebuild. You get this close. Obviously, we won a lot of football games, and we know in order for there not to be that, he's got to be a part of this thing. So I don't think that's anybody's intention.
Bill Huber.
I had no idea you could read that, Matt. Hey, I'm sure you're probably sick of all the hypotheticals at quarterback, but again, we don't know when we're going to talk to you again. So if push comes to shove, are you equipped to run the ball more? As far as you've got Lyman, you've invested in the line. Obviously, you got two great running backs. But if you need to go that route, do you feel good about the ability to go that way?
I think we'll constantly look at how we can do things the best way, and ultimately, it's how do you win football games? And each game plan might have a different way you go about it in regards to who you're playing and how you match up. But I think with any time you have a younger quarterback, if you can lean on the running game, it certainly makes things easier in the passing game. So I think that is something that we'll evaluate everything. Where we go with this thing, regardless of who's in there, it could change on a daily basis, really. I mean, we are going to evaluate. We'll do a lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-scout of the film. We'll study other teams and see how other teams had success moving the football. I think we'll dig and claw and scratch and try to get every advantage we can and put a lot of time and effort into it in order to be our best.
Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, I know it sounds good you don't want to be in a rebuild, but I'm sure you've been in meetings with Russ and Brian, and you know what that cap situation looks like. Has anybody said to you or plotted out to you exactly how you can maneuver, how you can go without having to cut half your roster in order to get under the cap this year? I mean, do you guys have a plan to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a plan in place. We'll get more into that plan, I think, now that the season's over, in terms of the specifics of how you go about doing that. And there's ways to I don't want to say manipulate, but there's ways to move money and to make sure that we get the bulk of our key contributors back. Are there absolutely going to be some tough decisions? No doubt about it. But, I'm really confident in Russ's ability and Goody's ability and us collectively to figure a way to do this thing.
Lance Allen.
Matt, obviously, like you said, it's about getting over the hump and getting to the Super Bowl in Green Bay. But what good do you take from this season, and what do you feel like you can hang your hat on going forward into the 2022 season?
Well, it's hard to find the good right now, to be honest, Lance. I mean, just in regards to it, that was a tough loss. There's no sugarcoating it, and so the amount of time, energy, effort, and there were a lot of great things this season to win 13 games, but ultimately to come up short, it stings. So it's hard to see the good in that right now, but there was a lot of good, and I think there was a lot of growth for a lot of us, coaches, players, everybody involved, and but you got to keep moving forward, because like I told our team, nobody's feeling sorry for us, and so you got to pick yourself up from a tough loss, and you got to try to learn from it. However, whatever nugget you can take away from this, and just keep on marching on, and that's a mentality. Like I told you guys earlier, that's the only way, at least I know how to go about our business here, and I'm confident in the men that we have, and the people in this organization that we have, that they will do the same, and we're just going to strive to be our best.
Cassidy Hill.
Hey, Matt, you mentioned trying to figure out what it needs to be to get over the hump. Do you have any outside voices that you talk to, that you listen to, or maybe consult with, or is it all kept in the building when trying to figure that out for yourself?
Oh, absolutely. There'll be people I reach out to, no doubt about it. But I think I haven't done that yet. I mean, like I said, yesterday, came in a little bit and watched the tape. Tried not to watch too much football, because every time I saw it on TV, it left a pit in my stomach, to be honest with you. And then today I've just been spending a lot of time with our guys. I haven't even met with any individual of our staff yet, and so everything's really fresh right now. We're definitely kind of a little bit numb, but it's a tough way to end the year. But I'll definitely reach out to people that I trust, not only in football, but maybe in other professions as well, just to try to figure out ways to recreate that energy, that enthusiasm that these guys came to work with each and every day.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Matt, I know you're hardwired to point the finger at yourself, and you always say it starts with me, and I respect that about you. I'm just wondering what exactly you regret from Saturday night. I mean, you look at the tape and there's some throws that Aaron could have made that he passes up open guys, including, as he admitted, on the last throw where he goes downfield instead of Allen. You got a drop across the middle by Josiah. You've got Big Dog's fumble. I mean, I'm not sure that you can look at your game plan and say, yeah, I lost this game for us. What, is it, you talked about the pressure Aaron was under. Do you regret the decision you made on the offensive line? What exactly do you feel like you did? Because there's plenty of blame to go around for why your season's over.
Well, yeah, I just think like you look at the things that you can control, and are we putting the right people in the right positions to make plays? That's a coach's decision. You look at kind of what happened on special teams. Did we have the right guys available for those situations? As the head football coach, you always gotta look at yourself first and foremost. There's no doubt about it. I can't expect anybody else, whether player, coach, whoever it may be, to look at themselves critically if I can't do that myself. So I do believe it starts with me. I just one takeaway, just watching that game back, and San Francisco had a lot of their starters on special teams. That's going to be something that I want to do some studies around the league and see how many teams operate that way. Again, does it have some inherent risks? Absolutely. We lost A.J. Dillon. So, and then I think, just from a defensive standpoint, I was really proud of our guys in terms of, I know I challenged Joe and our defensive staff to make sure that we come up with some looks that maybe San Francisco hasn't seen. And those guys did that. So I think it's just, you always got to stay one step ahead of the competition. I think there were some areas that we did a good job with that, and then there were others that we didn't. So I just got to make sure that we're all pushing to find every advantage we can, players, coaches, everybody involved, to be at their best, to give us the best chance to win. Because I talked about it earlier, but like the margin for error in this league is so minuscule. There's not a lot that separates a lot of these teams, and that was so evident by the games yesterday, evident in our game. You got to find every advantage you can.
Kyle Malzahn.
Hey, Matt, there's been nothing but shock from you and your guys, and you even said to open this up, you didn't think anybody thought that you guys would be here. Do you think you and your guys got overly confident going into the game on Saturday?
No, Kyle, not at all. All you have to do is look back at the history of our games with the 49ers and know that there would be no reason to do that. I mean, were we confident that we were going to win the football game? Absolutely. Do we know exactly how it was going to go? No, I don't think you ever do. But when you have a resilient mindset and we have the competitors that we have, you know that you're going to find a way. And I still believe that, like, even after you could feel that momentum turn and they blocked that punt, I thought we're going to go find a way to win this game. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. And so, that's what makes this thing so tough is, it's a little shocking. But we have so much respect for what the 49ers do, how hard those guys play, what they've been through, the resiliency they showed. They were just a few plays away from getting eliminated from the playoffs altogether in that last game versus the Rams. I mean, they came back, and so we knew it was going to take all 60 minutes, and unfortunately, we came up on the short end, and it's just a little bit tough right now.
Chris Roth.
Hey, Matt, do you have a plan in place? I'm assuming you do, but with Nathaniel's situation being out in Denver again today, did you have any last advice for him? He's the first finalist there. Maybe he can seal the deal today with an impressive interview, but did you have any final advice for him that had absolutely nothing to do with the quarterback?
Yeah, I just told him, hey, man, just go be yourself. I got a lot of confidence in him. not only as a football coach, but as a man and as a leader. And so certainly we do have a plan in place in terms of if he were to get one of these. And so we'll find out here, I would think, in the near future of where we're headed in that direction.
Matt Schneidman.
Matt, regarding that plan, does it involve promoting someone already on staff to offensive coordinator if Nathaniel does get the job somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of confidence in the guys that we have on our staff. We got so many good guys, and it's not going to be an easy decision. Let me just tell you that.
Cassidy Hill.
Yeah, Matt, obviously you want to keep Aaron and have made that clear, but do you have a contingency plan for him not being here? And if not, when do you create one?
Oh, I think that, certainly you have plans for everything, but, I'm confident that this isn't going to go like last offseason. I think the communication's been great between not only him and myself, but he and Goody and Russ and Mark. And so, we'll approach that if need be.
When you say confident it won't go like last season, do you mean just in terms of communication, having an answer?
Just the whole, yeah, absolutely. The whole process, everything.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, Joe's defense ended ranked overall and points-wise exactly the same as Mike's defense the year prior. Now, obviously, you're coming off an excellent defensive effort in the playoff game. How do you assess the job Joe did his first year as your defensive coordinator?
I think Joe did an outstanding job, and I think it wasn't just him. It was all our coaches and our players. I think there's always a learning curve, even though there were some core principles that were very similar. There's always a little bit of a learning curve when you bring somebody new in. But I thought just overall those guys adapted well. I definitely think that there's still a lot of room for growth for all our coaches, for our players, and that we can be even better. Is it ever going to be perfect? No, we know that. But that's what we're going to strive for each and every day. And, it's going to be a lot of work to get back to that point and hopefully improve upon where we are today.
Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt, I just wanted to ask you 3 quick questions on special teams.
Only 3?
Yeah, just 3.
Okay.
Just 3. Sorry, I had a list and I had to pare it down. One, if on the block punt, would a better snap have avoided, even with the guy coming up the middle, avoided that punt being blocked, do you think?
Well, certainly it slows down the operation just a tad bit, but no, I think there was a lot that went wrong on that play, to be honest with you. And again, it's never one individual's fault. Certainly we had a body for a body, but he should have gotten some help in that situation.
Okay. And then on the blocked field goal, it looked like you had a guy right there. You take the inside guy and he kind of went to the outside guy. Is that what you saw? Still, what happened?
That's exactly what happened. And, just critical mistakes at inopportune times.
Okay. And then the other was the field goal at the end. You know how you wound up with 10? Was someone hurt? Did someone just forget to go on?
No, we miscounted up in the box. That's the bottom line. I think we saw somebody that wasn't usually out there, that wanted to be out there because he's one of our better players, and we pulled him off and then realized, oh, shoot, we only have 10. And so, those are the things that are really tough to swallow, is when you shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak, and you have those gross, just really negligent errors. Those cannot happen. Those are totally unacceptable. And again, like just thinking about some of the things that I can do better as a head coach is making sure, especially out of a timeout, like, hey guys, we got 11. We got the 11 we need. Like, I've got to do a better job in that situation, because that's just not only, would it have made a difference? I don't know, maybe, but it sure looks bad, and it's embarrassing that happens under my watch.
We'll do two more. Ryan Wood.
Matt, you talked about being more detailed in every phase, and you mentioned that specifically with the special teams Saturday night as well. Obviously, you're very heavily involved in offense. How much of your time does that take during the week, and how do you envision that changing? Do you see yourself being more involved in special teams and defense going forward next season, and in what ways?
Somebody's clicking that pen again. Yeah, I think that no, there are challenges, Ryan, with that, no doubt about it. When you're the play caller and you're spending a lot of time with the offense, it does create some challenges, no doubt about it. I think where I can be a lot better is just making sure that throughout the course of the off season that we're all on the same page, that we're speaking the same language, and then making sure that, especially as the leader, you got to stress how important teams are to this whole football team, and you got to make it a culture where people want to be a part of it, because it obviously affects our ability to win games. And it was nothing was more magnified than the other night. And so I just think that having a better kind of finger on the pulse in all three phases will help us in just making sure that we can keep everybody accountable to one another.
And last one, Andy Herman.
Matt, on the last offensive play of the game, is that play designed to go to Allen? And did you get any sort of explanation as to why the throw into double coverage to Davante on that play?
I didn't get into the specifics of that with Aaron, and it happens. It happens in this game, and there's a lot to be said to wanting to throw the ball to the best receiver in football. So it is what it is. It was a 3rd and long situation. Obviously, we don't want to be in those situations, period. Those are tough to convert. And so I'm not going to put that on that one play on anybody. Again, should have done a better job so we're not in that situation, in that part of the game, in that critical moment. And you got to be in 3rd and manageable. And that was the goal going into it. And we didn't get that done.
All right, Coach, that's it.
Hey, I just want to say thanks to all you guys too for everything throughout the course of the year, for putting up with me and some of the cliches that I know makes Nagler want to vomit at times, but I'm just kidding, Aaron. But no, seriously, in all seriousness, sorry we didn't get it done. I'm extremely disappointed for not only for our guys, for our staff, for everybody involved in this thing, and you guys are obviously a big part of this as well. And so, we'll get back at this thing, and you'll see a better version of us next year.